because of the joys of zero indexing, we must pay attention to the first character starting at 0. And so that the length, you can imagine it sort of as a block at the end of our word. And so it will stop our loops as long as we stay under the length. So that's, I don't know why, I've always just imagined it that way. So let's imagine that, first of all, this word is saved in the variable word. And we would like to have a loop that will start at 0, where x is, and will go to the end of the word here, but not including the length. We'll just stop as long as it stays under the length, and we'll count up by 1. And so that's x. But now our question is, how do we set up another variable, let's say y, to run from the end back without creating some complicated double loop or anything like that? How can we just use a simple trick to run the opposite direction? So that way we can compare each letter to see if one word is the reverse of the other. It's this simple. So as x grows, we'll take the length and subtract it 1 further. But hopefully you can catch the danger here that the first position is 0 and the length is 5. So if I had 5 minus 0, that would be character at 5, and I'd crash because there's no character at 5. That would be a syntax error. Correction, not a syntax error. That would be a runtime error, and it would crash our app. And so what we need to do is just word minus 1. So just I could add a 1 to x, but this way it's just emphasizing that I'm starting at the last character, and I will go down this direction as x grows. So we can simply set an int y equal to this, and we can do that at the start of every loop here, and so that way we'll always have the location that we want to compare to. So now we just need to compare the char at 4 versus, or at y versus the char at x. So it could look something like this. You can see at the start of every loop we create the int y that as this one grows, it will move this one this way, because the larger this is, the more it will subtract. And this is a commonly used construct or idea. So each time we will check to see if the character at this position of the word, and I changed word from word 1 to word 2, so that way you can see that there are 2 variables, this one, and in the other video I explained how the isReverse method should be set up with those 2 parameters, and you can call them I1, W1, word 1, input 1, whatever you want. It doesn't matter, as long as it's somewhat logical. And so you can just, as soon as you spot that the character at x doesn't match the character at y, then you can stop and just return false. Return false will shut the method down, and it'll pass back over to the main method, and you can then the if else will take over, and the else will kick in and say, okay, they're not the reverse of each other, because this will return false. If it gets all the way through this loop and it never was triggered to return false, then yeah, it passes the test. So after this line is, then you can do return true. And so that way, if you make it to the end and it didn't catch anything that was wrong, then they must be the reverse of each other, and so return true. I hope that makes sense. Let me know if you have any other questions.